Hey, Damon here for Automo Superstore again, and this time around I'm going to show you how really simple and easy it is to add a subwoofer to an otherwise completely factory standard sound system. This is in an Audi Q2. It has built-in CarPlay, it has component speakers in the front doors and the rear doors, but it has no subwoofer at all because it's got the entry-level sound system. I need to fix that because I don't like driving a car that has no subwoofer. Let me show you how simple it is. This little map here. So if this is the front of the car, this is the rear of the car, obviously the subwoofer is going to go in the back. The amplifier I'm going to probably put under a seat, one of the front two seats. Up here is our battery. We're going to run a power cable through the firewall with a fuse at the battery. That's going to go to the positive of the amplifier. I'm going to add a earth strap from the negative output to the chassis somewhere near where the amplifier sits under one of the seats. I'm going to run a speaker wire from the amplifier to where the subwoofer is. This is the little remote level controller that will adjust the output of the subwoofer up and down compared to the main speakers. And then I'm going to derive the music signal from the factory sound system. Now for that, in this particular car, I need a key set. It's this one here, and it gives me these keys that gets the small MIB unit out of the glove box that's in Volkswagen and Audi vehicles, and that's where I know in this particular car there's going to be wires going to each of the speakers in the car to help me work out which ones, because I want to take the signal from the front speakers. I need a little AAA battery and some speaker wire. Other tools I'm going to need, maybe I've just grabbed what I think I'm going to need. Side cutters, wire strippers, a little 10mm socket, some tape, soldering iron and some solder. I might need some of these hex type Allen sets, some trim removal tools, and a multimeter. That's going to come in quite handy. I've also grabbed some cable ties and some what we call male Velcro, and that will stick the amplifier down underneath the seat. For the equipment in this particular installation, I've just got a Kenwood 12 in a sealed enclosure. In this instance, I'm using Cerwin-Vega's B51 mono. It's actually optimized to run into a 1 ohm load. It has some features that are really handy in this particular instance. So it has a mode for turn on that is a small switch that says remote DC and Vox. What that allows is, in remote mode, you can run a traditional trigger cable, like say if you've got an aftermarket sound system, to turn the amplifier on and off. In DC mode, what it does is it looks at the voltage on the positive and negative. It looks at the voltage from your car. When you turn your car on, the voltage rises up from around 12 volts to somewhere around 13.4 volts. That tells the amplifier, oh, the car's on, so I need to turn on as well. And then likewise, when you turn the key off, it says, oh, you're going down to 12 volts or under, I'll turn the amplifier back off again. In Vox, what it does, alternatively to that, is it looks for the signal coming in through your inputs, and it says, there's a signal coming in, I need to turn on. When the signal goes away for a period of time, it says, the signal's gone, turn the amplifier off. That's a really handy feature to have in this type of installation. A lot of amplifiers have it. Most of Cerwin-Vega's high end of their mono amplifiers all have that feature. For a wiring kit, I'm just going to use an 8-gauge power kit from AirPro, Cerwin-Vega, Stinger. We've got plenty of brands that sell kits like this one here. It gives you your power, earth, some shielding, a fuse holder and a fuse. 8 gauges ample for the 300 to 400 watts RMS I'm going to be getting out of this amplifier, and the distance from the battery to the amplifier. If you're going to run more power, or your battery is going to be a lot further away in the front of the car and your amplifier is in the back of the car, you need to consider that when you're choosing the gauge of power cable. But let's get stuck into the installation. So first of all, we choose where to mount the amplifier. In this particular installation, I've chosen underneath the passenger seat. I've just unbolted the seat, I haven't unplugged it. And that gives us plenty of space for this amplifier because it's a really compact design. And so for this one, we're going to have wiring running through underneath this trim panel here and then down the back from the subwoofer itself. And so these panels will need to come out, as will this one on the side of the dashboard here. So in the Audi Q2, the battery is here. And I've found this location right here that seems to be an ideal spot to mount the fuse holder. And then we've got these clips on the firewall where an existing loom is leading down, and there's a hole through the firewall down there that had a rubber grommet. There was a spare hole, and I was able to feed the power cable down through that quite easily. And here it is passing up through that hole there. I can get the fuse holder, I can mount it. Nice and close to the positive terminal of the battery. and connect it on. But we wait to do that once the amplifier itself is all wired up. We don't connect that right now. So this is the grommet that actually plugs the hole in the firewall where I've got that cable coming through. I'll just drill the hole in it and run the cable through that, and I'll put that back up into the hole, stop water coming into the cabin from the engine bay. So what I've also done, I've just removed the footrest. It was one screw that held it in up here, and fold the footrest back out of the way. One screw out of here, and this side panel folds back, and I can feed that cable across. There's my power cable on the correct side of the card that I need where the amplifier is going to be. I've just started pulling the trim apart along here and here, and that's because in modern Audi and Volkswagen vehicles they have this unit as part of their setup, and this is where oftentimes if there's no option sound system, it's the factory just base level, this provides the amplification for the speakers in the car. So I'll get to the speaker wires through here in this particular instance and be able to go down behind, across, and to the amplifier's location. So with the keys we've got in our kit there, we can get this unit to remove from its chassis. So the clip on the back of this one undoes, and that gives us access to the wiring loom, so we can just tuck the chassis of this back here. So obviously with this one, your power and your earth are your big thick cables here. You'll have signal coming in, signal going out, but basically you're looking for a nice neat 8 thick connections like these ones here. Front left, front right, rear left, rear right. Now we don't know which is which, but you can see these are thicker pins. These are thinner ones. These will be low level or data. This is going to be going out to the speakers, and there's our 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs of wires. So now what we want to do is we want to verify that these are actually truly connected to speakers in the car. And to do that, grab your multimeter, set it to the impedance, which is the little ohm symbol there. Pick any pair of the 2 wires of the same color. There. And we'll see that's showing just over 4 ohms of impedance. And that verifies that these go directly to the speakers in the car. I'm just going to check the other 3 now. So now I just need to work out which pair of wires goes to which speaker in the car. I want to parallel off the set of wires going to the front speakers in the car, because I sometimes fade the rear speakers down to make them a bit quieter to keep the sound in the front of the car where I am. And so I want to have the subwoofer running off that pair of channels so it's not being reduced in volume compared to the fronts when I'm playing with the fader. So for that bit of speaker wire, I've just soldered the ends so that they don't fray, and they're just nice and stiff and strong. And I've jammed those into one of those pair of terminals. I grab a little AAA battery and I just quickly go, and I can hear the popping is the driver's side rear speaker. I can check, and I think the green is going to be the passenger side rear speaker. There you go. So that's the passenger side rear. So purple and green are the rears, grey and white are my fronts. So here I've just spliced onto the actual speaker wires coming out of the back of the connector. So our connector's all plugged back in, ready to put this back in. Our wire just runs behind the dashboard, comes down through the pillar, ready to run to the amplifier. So with the subwoofer wire, you've just got one speaker wire that you've got to run, and you can just tuck that down behind your rear seat. The bottom of the seat here in most cars, they just pull up and there's a clip on either side that holds it down. This trim panel here, I've just released. And so there is the speaker wire running down through, and it goes down through to the front of the car. So here we have the main power wire. I've run that under the carpet and across to the sill panel. Here's the 2 wires from the source unit in the car. I've also, from the glove box, I've run the remote level controller cable. I'm just going to put the remote in the glove box for now. It runs down, and here's our earth cable. Now in most modern vehicles like this one, you're going to find plenty of factory earth positions. Here's one here. all the brown wires run to it. That's a dead giveaway that it's an earth tier chassis. But I had a look around a bit further and found this one here about 50 centimeters closer to where the amplifier was going to go. So that's the one I decided to use. So we're about to wire this up. I just want to set the controls on the side as a preliminary setting before I put this in the car. For the turn on mode, I'm going to go to Vox. I want this to turn on from the signal input from the factory source unit. Input sensitivity will be on the minimum setting because I'm using speaker level input to this as opposed to line level RCA level. So I need to reduce the input sensitivity level to match that, and I'll adjust from there once the car's up and running. Subsonic filter, this is a sealed box, so I can just leave that set to 10 Hertz. Bass boost, you should start at 0 and work your way up. I'll probably put 3 or 4 dB in there just as a bit of a sound contour with a sealed box to give it a bit of a bump at 40 Hertz. And the low pass filter frequency for a subwoofer, you want that at around 80 Hertz. Now besides that, this unit uses these fly leads for connection. This is the speaker output on this side. And I'll just put some bullet connectors on in the car to the speaker wire going to the subwoofer. This one here, that plugs into the other end and that gives you your RCA input, but because we are using speaker level inputs, I'm going to cut this one off. And I'll strip this back and solder this onto the speaker wires coming from that head unit behind the dashboard, and that gives me my input signal. So time to connect the amplifier up now. The very first cable you always connect is the earth cable. It's going to go into this side over here. Then we can connect our power. Important to note that the terminal at the battery is not yet connected, so this isn't live. Alternatively, you can just pull the fuse out. And obviously, because we're using the speaker level input to trigger the amplifier, the trigger on this one is not connected. We have our speaker connection to the subwoofer. It just plugs in, like so. And that just leaves our inputs and the remote controller. Little zap there, like normal. So the amplifier's installed, time to fire it up and have that first listen. Oh, even with the bass guitar I can hear that already. It's so much better with a subwoofer. I cannot even tell you. If you have a sound system in your car that's completely stock and has no subwoofer, you've got to add one. It makes such a massive difference. I'm going to hit the road right now and actually have a bit of a listen while I'm driving and just tweak the settings a bit, but wow, I'm really happy. Yeah, so I'm really happy with that. I think I've got the settings spot on to begin with. The low pass filter for your subwoofer in your application may vary a little bit from mine. The difference is going to be sealed boxes and ported boxes may prefer a different frequency from each other. Also, this particular amplifier has a very steep low pass filter at 24 dB per octave, so I've set it about 80 Hertz. If it was a 12 dB per octave slope in your amplifier, you might set it lower at 70 Hertz or 60 Hertz to get it to blend really well with your main speakers. Other than that, play around a little bit with the input sensitivity. You may need a slightly hotter input sensitivity level if you listen to older recordings. If you vary your recordings from older to newer, just bear that in mind because old recordings have very low amount of bass in them compared to modern recordings have a lot more bass inherently in their recordings. Either way, It's a really great result. So how good's that? Just add a subwoofer to an otherwise completely standard sound system. It's a night and day difference. It's that easy to install, so go ahead, grab yourself some stuff from our site, get installing. You'll see links down below for all the products we've used in this particular installation. On our YouTube channel, you'll see other videos I've done about how to build your own subwoofer enclosure, how to install amplifiers, speakers, head units, things like that. While you're here, like and subscribe as always, and I will see you next time.